Oh, quick shout out to Keorca, Keorca, Keorca race organization. They sent me this really cool shirt. Let me show you the back. They sent me the shirt all the way from, I think that their club is in Australia. I'll link down their Facebook page down below in case you guys are over there and looking for a track to run in. But thank you guys so much for sending me the really cool shirt. I really appreciate it. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, I wanted to talk about winning. What goes into how you get there. Now I know what you're thinking, Ryan. Obviously it takes talent and a fast car, and the first one across the finish line, that's who wins. Technically you're right, but I wanted to kind of dive into it and give you guys some tips that leads to this point. So I think that more often than not, there's a lot of people out there that will get hung up on a lot of things that, yes, it has something to do with your car being fast and competitive, but it's vastly overshadowed by a lot of other fundamental elements that oftentimes get ignored. And those are the things that people should be focusing on in order to take full advantage of the things that they think are really important. I hope this is making sense so far. So let me give you some examples. A lot of times I'll get people that will send me a message and they'll ask me very specific things about motors and timing, this degree versus this degree, gearing for a track, what should I do? And these are all valid questions, but a lot of times they're incredibly subjective. And I think that people need to understand that the more you go out to the track and you just get in some good old-fashioned practice, and you kind of learn what these things are and what they do, you'll realize that these questions are kind of like the wrong things that you should be focusing on. Let's break down some of the things that I think are the most important first fundamental issues that you should have dialed in before you get to the racetrack in order to prepare to win. First thing, 90% of your setup is going to come from your tires. With that said, if you know where you're going to be racing, order the tires that you need and have them ready for race day. For example, this coming weekend, I'm going to be racing at an outdoor dirt track. So what this normally means for these tracks, because I've been to them before and I kind of know what to expect, not the exact outcome, but I'm prepared for a couple different scenarios. In the early morning, the track is going to be damp, a little bit wet, some loose dirt, the loamy stuff on top. Love that stuff. Got to run a pin style tire, something like a Whole Shot or something like the Blockade. If it's really dusty or dirty out there, definitely have it ready. Same thing goes for like an 8-scale car. You're going to want that larger pin style tire. Taking a step further than the tread pattern, you kind of want to look at what are the compounds that you want to run. If you need the tire to last a little bit longer, I would run like a soft compound, not a super soft compound. A super soft compound on a track that's in the process of grooving up will probably turn into like a one-run tire. Just have these things in mind, be ready for them, and then as the track continues to progress, what's the tire that you're going to end up on come main time? So in my scenario, if the track is starting to groove up, it's outdoors, I'm gonna hopefully end up on a bar style tire. Something like a soft or a compound slightly above that so that it doesn't burn up so fast and the car isn't as edgy. Same thing might apply at an indoor track. In the morning, the track might be a little bit damp. You might want to run something a little bit softer. Then come towards the end of the main day, if the temperature rises, some of the moisture of the track goes away, you might run something more like a traditional clay compound tire. Or you might be blessed and you can run the same tire all day long. Either way, the bottom line is be prepared and know what tires you need to run for the event and try to have them on hand and mounted before you get to the track. And I'm going to get to why that's important in the next couple steps here. Tip number 2. This is kind of coming from step number 1, and it's hopefully if you did step 1, it's going to make step 2 a lot easier for a lot of different things. Time off of the track that you're spending wrenching on things, fixing things, changing things, could be time spent on the track. So what do I mean? Let me give you an example. Let's say it's been a month or so since you've rebuilt your shocks and you notice that they're starting to get pretty clapped out on this particular race day. So you break them down and then you go to rebuild them, but you just heard over the announcement that there's going to be a practice session of 30 minutes between the last round of qualifying and the mains. Your buddy just told you about the hottest setup tip in the world that you don't have on your car, and you want to try it, but you don't know if you should. You also know that there's like 2 other things that you have to fix on your car, and now that 30-minute window needs to be used for repairing your car. You see where I'm going. If you can do as many things as possible before you get to the track, any opportunity you have for extra track time or testing different setup options, you'll be able to do those things if you took the time to prep your car in advance. One of those things being mounting tires. It can be very time consuming when you do that at the track. And I understand sometimes it's necessary if it's like a spec tire class and they don't give you the tire till the day of the event. I understand, but hopefully you see where I'm coming from, that dialing in as many things as you can before you get to the track will hopefully mean that you'll be able to do more things on the track that will translate into just practice and speed. Tip number 3, I make sure that I have my pit bag totally packed up and ready to go at least a few days prior to the event. Now, this isn't always the case, but this is what I aim to do. It kind of ties into that whole more prep time ahead means more track time and more testing that I can do while I'm at the track. I go through my pit bag, I take an opportunity to kind of empty it all out, see what I had in there, check inventory. Then you'll run into things like seeing if you have that extra set of arms. So if you clip that wall when you're going for that big triple in the back, you break it, no big deal, because you took the time to make sure that you have the parts necessary to keep your race program moving. It's always a bummer when you could have just gone through your pit bag once and realized, oh shoot, that extra part was actually in the box that was sitting on my workbench and I totally forgot to bring that box. And now I'm here at the track, nobody has my spare part. Again, these are just hypothetical scenarios that I know I have found myself in literally on more than one occasion, and these are the things that I do to try to prevent them from happening in the future. Tip number 4, sticking with the preparation theme. A lot of times I'll show up to a racetrack and I'll look at guys that are near my pit table, and I'll just kind of be able to look at their car and see immediately that they have some stuff on there that's obviously not the right setup for the track that we are currently at. And then as the race day goes on, I notice that they don't really change anything until it becomes a massive problem and they realize that, oh crap, I'm not going to make the A main and I'm way off pace. What do I do? And they get super flustered. I understand that maybe they don't necessarily know the things as far as how to set up the car, but for example, if you've gone to a carpet track and then you're going to go to a dirt track, I can promise you that those setups are going to be vastly different. Trying to do simple things like that, like, oh, it was a super high bite track and now I'm about to go to a very low bite track, or something where it was a big open fast track and then now it's a tight small track. Go to the setup sites that are out there, whether it's on the manufacturer's website or the other setup site that I've linked down below. A lot of us have been to Petit.com there to look at setups for other cars, and then just kind of look at the surface options and scroll through and see what people are doing. You might see something that's really common and you go, oh wow, that must be the way to go to do this particular car at that particular style of track. Worst case scenario, it at least gives you an appropriate starting point. Even if it's not the end all be all setup, it's gonna be along the right path. It's way easier to correct a setup that's really close than a setup that you show up and realize you needed sway bars and everybody's running them, but you don't even have them in your pit bag because you didn't even think about it. Those types of things, the big major changes, look at those setup sheets carefully and try to prepare as much as you can. So that way, what you're going to be testing when you get there is the difference between the 1.6 sway bar and the 1.5 versus no sway bar at all, and then trying to figure out which one you're going to need. I'm realizing these are kind of in order, but some of them aren't. Most of them are just preparation themed, but hopefully you guys are following along and you get the general idea. Tip number 5. Ooh, this is a good one. Bring a pit lamp. Now, many of you out there maybe probably already have one, but there's been plenty of times where I see guys that are racing outdoors and they are there first thing in the morning and it runs to the afternoon, but then the program runs a little bit slower and we get pushed into the night, and then they realize, man, I can't see a darn thing on my car right now, and that sun is definitely setting. I wish I brought my pit light. Just plain and simple. Bring a pit light. Those are a lot of the big, better, easier tips that I have to help people prepare to be successful on race day, so that when the going gets tough, you've done everything that you need. So then pretty much the last thing that you need to do on race day is keep that car charged up or fueled up, keep a fresh set of tires on it, and just go fast. Put your head down, and then you can really start worrying about going fast on the track, and you won't have all of those little secondary thoughts in your head like, oh, I really should have checked my diffs because I don't know the last time when I built them, or I don't even know what's in those things because the last time I built them, I don't remember when that was. All of those things can add up to a lack of confidence in your driving program and your driving ability. When you get up on the stand and you hear your buddies talking about, oh yeah, I definitely am glad that I'm running this in that particular setup. And then you might not even know what you're running because you didn't take the time to run through and prepare those things so that you could be ready to be confident and competitive mentally on race day. Obviously, these things aren't going to guarantee that you can go out there and become the next world champion, but they will improve your driving ability over time. So if you're looking for that next level, that next step, or you're really driving towards getting another sponsorship next year or your first sponsorship, all of these things, all of those companies, if they're going to give you a nice support system, they're going to want to see that you have all these things dialed in. I encourage you, take a step back, look at your race program, see if you have any tires that you need to order for your upcoming race. Do you know what setup is in your car? Go find a new one. If not, go through that pit bag, see if you have everything you need. Do you need to order an extra set of arms? Is that bearing in that rear hub carrier totally blown out and you don't know because you haven't looked for 4 months? All of these things are really important when it comes to being ultra competitive and winning on race day. That's all that I have for this one. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. Maybe there's some things in there that you can kind of take home and chew on for yourself and see some success in your race program. I really hope so. Or if you have any tips and things that I didn't go over, but things that have really helped you guys, definitely share it with us down in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys are doing out there to get your race programs really dialed in and going fast. So if you liked the video, please like it, share it with your friends. That does help the channel out tremendously. I'll be making some more content this year talking about just tips, tricks, and coverage of all the race events I go to. That's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for all of the love and support that you guys have given me. I will see you in the next one.